Autobiography of a Yogi. By Paramahansa Yogananda. Chapter 24. I become a monk of the Swami order. Master, my father has been anxious for me to accept an executive position with the Bengal-Nagpur Railway. But I have definitely refused it. I added hopefully, Sir, will you not make me a monk of the Swami order? I looked pleadingly at my guru. During preceding years, in order to test the depth of my determination, he had refused this same request. Today, however, he smiled graciously. Very well, tomorrow I will initiate you into Swamiship. He went on quietly, I am happy that you have persisted in your desire to be a monk. Lahiri Mahasaya often said, if you don't invite God to be your summer guest, He won't come in the winter of your life. Dear Master, I could never falter in my goal to belong to the Swami order like your revered self. I smiled at him with measureless affection. He that is unmarried careth for the things that belong to the Lord, how he may please the Lord, but he that is married careth for the things of the world, how he may please his wife. I had analyzed the lives of many of my friends who, after undergoing certain spiritual discipline, had then married. Launched on the sea of worldly responsibilities, they had forgotten their resolutions to meditate deeply. To allot God a secondary place in life was, to me, inconceivable. Though He is the sole owner of the cosmos, silently showering us with gifts from life to life, one thing yet remains which He does not own, and which each human heart is empowered to withhold or bestow: man's love. The Creator, in taking infinite pains to shroud with mystery His presence in every atom of creation, could have had but one motive: a sensitive desire that men seek Him only through free will. With what velvet glove of every humility has He not covered the iron hand of omnipotence? The following day was one of the most memorable in my life. It was a sunny Thursday, I remember, in July, 1914, a few weeks after my graduation from college. On the inner balcony of his Serampuri hermitage, Master dipped a new piece of white silk into a dye of ochre, the traditional color of the Swami order. After the cloth had dried, my guru draped it around me as a renunciate's robe. Someday you will go to the West, where silk is preferred, he said. As a symbol, I have chosen for you the silk material instead of the customary cotton. In India, where monks embrace the ideal of poverty, a silk-clad Swami is an unusual sight. Many yogis, however, wear garments of silk, which preserve certain subtle bodily currents better than cotton. I am averse to ceremonies, Sri Yukteswar remarked. I will make you a Swami in the Bidwat, non-ceremonious, manner. The Bibidisa or elaborate initiation into Swamiship includes a fire ceremony, during which symbolical funeral rites are performed. The physical body of the disciple is represented as dead, cremated in the flame of wisdom. The newly made Swami is then given a chant, such as, this Atma is Brahma, or thou art that, or I am he. Sri Yukteswar, however, with his love of simplicity, dispensed with all formal rites and merely asked me to select a new name. I will give you the privilege of choosing it yourself, he said, smiling. Yogananda, I replied, after a moment's thought. The name literally means bliss, ananda, through divine union, yoga. Be it so. Forsaking your family name of Mukundalal Ghosh, henceforth you shall be called Yogananda of the Giri branch of the Swami order. As I knelt before Sri Yukteswar, and for the first time heard him pronounce my new name, my heart overflowed with gratitude. How lovingly and tirelessly had he labored, that the boy Mukunda be someday transformed into the monk Yogananda. I joyfully sang a few verses from the long Sanskrit chant of Lord Shankara. Mind, nor intellect, nor ego, feeling, sky nor earth nor metals am I. I am He, I am he, blessed spirit, I am he. No birth, no death, no caste have I, father, mother, have I none. I am he, blessed spirit, I am he. Beyond the flights of fancy, formless am I, permeating the limbs of all life. Bondage I do not fear, I am free, ever free, I am he, blessed spirit, I am he. Every Swami belongs to the ancient monastic order which was organized in its present form by Shankara. Because it is a formal order, with an unbroken line of saintly representatives serving as active leaders, no man can give himself the title of Swami. He rightfully receives it only from another Swami. All monks thus trace their spiritual lineage to one common Guru, Lord Shankara. By vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience to the spiritual teacher, many Catholic Christian monastic orders resemble the order of Swamis. In addition to his new name, usually ending in Ananda, the Swami takes a title which indicates his formal connection with one of the 10 subdivisions of the Swami order. These dasanamis or 10 agnomens include the Giri, mountain, to which Sri Yukteswar, and hence myself, belong. Among the other branches are the Sagar, sea, Bharti, land, Aranya, forest, Puri, tract, Tirtha, place of pilgrimage, and Sarasvati, wisdom of nature. The new name received by a Swami thus has a twofold significance, and represents the attainment of supreme bliss, Ananda, through some divine quality or state, love, wisdom, devotion, service, yoga, and through a harmony with nature, as expressed in her infinite vastness of oceans, mountains, skies. The ideal of selfless service to all mankind, and of renunciation of personal ties and ambitions, leads the majority of Swamis to engage actively in humanitarian and educational work in India, or occasionally in foreign lands. Ignoring all prejudices of caste, creed, class, color, sex, or race, a Swami follows the precepts of human brotherhood. His goal is absolute unity with spirit. Imbuing his waking and sleeping consciousness with the thought, I am he roams contentedly, in the world but not of it. Thus only may he justify his title of Swami, one who seeks to achieve union with the SWA or self. It is needless to add that not all formally titled Swamis are equally successful in reaching their high goal. Sri Yukteswar was both a Swami and a yogi. A Swami, formally a monk by virtue of his connection with the ancient order, is not always a yogi. Anyone who practices a scientific technique of God contact is a yogi. He may be either married or unmarried, either a worldly man or one of formal religious ties. A Swami may conceivably follow only the path of dry reasoning, of cold renunciation, but a yogi engages himself in a definite, step-by-step procedure by which the body and mind are disciplined, and the soul liberated. Taking nothing for granted on emotional grounds, or by faith, a yogi practices a thoroughly tested series of exercises which were first mapped out by the early rishis. Yoga has produced, in every age of India, men who became truly free, truly yogi Christs. Like any other science, yoga is applicable to people of every clime and time. The theory advanced by certain ignorant writers that yoga is unsuitable for Westerners is wholly false, and has lamentably prevented many sincere students from seeking its manifold blessings. Yoga is a method for restraining the natural turbulence of thoughts, which otherwise impartially prevent all men, of all lands, from glimpsing their true nature of spirit. Yoga cannot know a barrier of east and west any more than does the healing and equitable light of the sun. So long as man possesses a mind with its restless thoughts, so long will there be a universal need for yoga or control. Not a historical personage like Krishna, Shiva is the name given to God in the last aspect of his threefold nature, creator, preserver, destroyer. Shiva, the annihilator of Maya or delusion, is symbolically represented in the scriptures as the Lord of Renunciates, the King of Yogis. In Hindu art he is always shown with the new moon in his hair, and wearing a garland of hooded snakes, ancient emblem of evil overcome and perfect wisdom. The single eye of omniscience is open on his forehead. The ancient Rishi Patanjali defines yoga as control of the fluctuations of the mind stuff. His very short and masterly expositions, the Yoga Sutras, form one of the 6 systems of Hindu philosophy. In contradistinction to Western philosophies, all 6 Hindu systems embody not only theoretical but practical teachings. In addition to every conceivable ontological inquiry, the 6 systems formulate 6 definite disciplines aimed at the permanent removal of suffering and the attainment of timeless bliss. The common thread linking all 6 systems is the declaration that no true freedom for man is possible without knowledge of the ultimate reality. The later Upanishads uphold the Yoga Sutras, among the 6 systems, as containing the most efficacious methods for achieving direct perception of truth. Through the practical techniques of yoga, man leaves behind forever the barren realms of speculation and cognizes in experience the veritable essence. The yoga system as outlined by Patanjali is known as the Eightfold Path. The first steps, 1. Yama and 2. Niyama, require observance of 10 negative and positive moralities, avoidance of injury to others, of untruthfulness, of stealing, of incontinence, of gift receiving, which brings obligations, and purity of body and mind, contentment, self-discipline, study, and devotion to God. The next steps are, 3. Asana, right posture, the spinal column must be held straight, and the body firm in a comfortable position for meditation. 4. Pranayama, control of prana, subtle life currents, and 5. Pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses from external objects. The last steps are forms of yoga proper. 6. Dharana, concentration, holding the mind to one thought. 7. Dhyana, meditation, and 8. Samadhi, superconscious perception. This is the eightfold path of yoga which leads one to the final goal of Kaivalya, absoluteness, a term which might be more comprehensibly put as realization of the truth beyond all intellectual apprehension. Which is greater, one may ask, a Swami or a yogi? If and when final oneness with God is achieved, the distinctions of the various paths disappear. The Bhagavad Gita, however, points out that the methods of yoga are all-embracive. Its techniques are not meant only for certain types and temperaments, such as those few who incline toward the monastic life. Yoga requires no formal allegiance. Because the yogic science satisfies a universal need, it has a natural universal applicability. A true yogi may remain dutifully in the world, there he is like butter on water, and not like the easily diluted milk of unchanged earned and undisciplined humanity. To fulfill one's earthly responsibilities is indeed the higher path, provided the yogi, maintaining a mental uninvolvement with egotistical desires, plays his part as a willing instrument of God. There are a number of great souls, living in American or European or other non-Hindu bodies today who, though they may never have heard the words yogi and swami, are yet true exemplars of those terms. Through their disinterested service to mankind, or through their mastery over passions and thoughts, or through their single-hearted love of God, or through their great powers of concentration, they are, in a sense, yogis. They have set themselves the goal of yoga self-control. These men could rise to even greater heights if they were taught the definite science of yoga, which makes possible a more conscious direction of one's mind and life. Yoga has been superficially misunderstood by certain Western writers, but its critics have never been its practitioners. Among many thoughtful tributes to yoga may be mentioned one by Dr. C.G. Jung, the famous Swiss psychologist. When a religious method recommends itself as scientific, it can be certain of its public in the West. Yoga fulfills this expectation, Dr. Jung writes. Quite apart from the charm of the new, and the fascination of the half-understood, there is good cause for yoga to have many adherents. It offers the possibility of controllable experience, and thus satisfies the scientific need of facts, and besides this, by reason of its breadth and depth, its venerable age, its doctrine and method, which include every phase of life, it promises undreamed of possibilities. Every religious or philosophical practice means a psychological discipline, that is, a method of mental hygiene. The manifold, purely bodily procedures of yoga also mean a physiological hygiene which is superior to ordinary gymnastics and breathing exercises, inasmuch as it is not merely mechanistic and scientific, but also philosophical. In its training of the parts of the body, it unites them with the whole of the spirit, as is quite clear, for instance, in the pranayama exercises where prana is both the breath and the universal dynamics of the cosmos. When the thing which the individual is doing is also a cosmic event, the effect experienced in the body, the innervation, unites with the emotion of the spirit, the universal idea, and out of this there develops a lively unity which no technique, however scientific, can produce. Yoga practice is unthinkable, and would also be ineffectual, without the concepts on which yoga is based. It combines the bodily and the spiritual with each other in an extraordinarily complete way. In the East, where these ideas and practices have developed, and where for several thousand years an unbroken tradition has created the necessary spiritual foundations, yoga is, as I can readily believe, the perfect and appropriate method of fusing body and mind together so that they form a unity which is scarcely to be questioned. This unity creates a psychological disposition which makes possible intuitions that transcend consciousness. The Western day is indeed nearing when the inner science of self-control will be found as necessary as the outer conquest of nature. This new atomic age will see men's minds sobered and broadened by the now scientifically indisputable truth that matter is in reality a concentrate of energy. Finer forces of the human mind can and must liberate energies greater than those within stones and metals, lest the material atomic giant, newly unleashed, turn on the world in mindless destruction. Autobiography of a Yogi. By Paramahansa Yogananda. Chapter 25. Brother Ananta and Sister Nalini. Ananta cannot live, the sands of his karma for this life have run out. These inexorable words reached my inner consciousness as I sat one morning in deep meditation. Shortly after I had entered the Swami order, I paid a visit to my birthplace, Gorakhpur, as a guest of my elder brother Ananta. A sudden illness confined him to his bed. I nursed him lovingly. The solemn inward pronouncement filled me with grief. I felt that I could not bear to remain longer in Gorakhpur, only to see my brother removed before my helpless gaze. Amidst uncomprehending criticism from my relatives, I left India on the first available boat. It cruised along Burma and the China Sea to Japan. I disembarked at Kobe, where I spent only a few days. My heart was too heavy for sightseeing. On the return trip to India, the boat touched at Shanghai. There Dr. Misra, the ship's physician, guided me to several curio shops, where I selected various presents for Sri Yukteswar and my family and friends. For Ananta I purchased a large carved bamboo piece. No sooner had the Chinese salesman handed me the bamboo souvenir than I dropped it on the floor, crying out, "I have bought this for my dear dead brother." A clear realization had swept over me that his soul was just being freed in the infinite. The souvenir was sharply and symbolically cracked by its fall. Amidst sobs, I wrote on the bamboo surface, "For my beloved Ananta, now gone." My companion, the doctor, was observing these proceedings with a sardonic smile. "Save your tears," he remarked. Why shed them until you are sure he is dead? When our boat reached Calcutta, Dr. Misra again accompanied me. My youngest brother Bishnu was waiting to greet me at the dock. I know Ananta has departed this life, I said to Bishnu, before he had had time to speak. Please tell me, and the doctor here, when Ananta died. Bishnu named the date, which was the very day that I had bought the souvenirs in Shanghai. Look here. Dr. Misra ejaculated. Don't let any word of this get around. The professors will be adding a year's study of mental telepathy to the medical course, which is already long enough. Father embraced me warmly as I entered our Gurupar road home. You have come, he said tenderly. 2 large tears dropped from his eyes. Ordinarily undemonstrative, he had never before shown me these signs of affection. Outwardly the grave father, inwardly he possessed the melting heart of a mother. In all his dealings with the family, his dual parental role was distinctly manifest. Soon after Ananta's passing, my younger sister Nalini was brought back from death's door by a divine healing. Before relating the story, I will refer to a few phases of her earlier life. The childhood relationship between Nalini and myself had not been of the happiest nature. I was very thin, she was thinner still. Through an unconscious motive or complex which psychiatrists will have no difficulty in identifying, I often used to tease my sister about her cadaverous appearance. Her retorts were equally permeated with the callous frankness of extreme youth. Sometimes mother intervened, ending the childish quarrels, temporarily, by a gentle box on my ear, as the elder ear. Time passed. Nalini was betrothed to a young Calcutta physician, Panchanan Bose. He received a generous dowry from father, presumably, as I remarked to sister, to compensate the bridegroom-to-be for his fate in allying himself with a human beanpole. Elaborate marriage rites were celebrated in due time. On the wedding night, I joined the large and jovial group of relatives in the living room of our Calcutta home. The bridegroom was leaning on an immense gold-brocaded pillow, with Nalini at his side. A gorgeous purple silk sari could not, alas, wholly hide her angularity. I sheltered myself behind the pillow of my new brother-in-law and grinned at him in friendly fashion. He had never seen Nalini until the day of the nuptial ceremony, when he finally learned what he was getting in the matrimonial lottery. Feeling my sympathy, Dr. Bose pointed unobtrusively to Nalini, and whispered in my ear, "Say, what's this?" "Why, doctor," I replied, "it is a skeleton for your observation." Convulsed with mirth, my brother-in-law and I were hard put to it to maintain the proper decorum before our assembled relatives. As the years went on, Dr. Bose endeared himself to our family, who called on him whenever illness arose. He and I became fast friends, often joking together, usually with Nalini as our target. "It is a medical curiosity," my brother-in-law remarked to me one day. "I have tried everything on your lean sister: cod liver oil, butter, malt, honey, fish, meat, eggs, tonics. Still she fails to bulge even 1/100th of an inch." We both chuckled. A few days later I visited the Bose home. My errand there took only a few minutes. I was leaving, unnoticed, I thought, by Nalini. As I reached the front door, I heard her voice, cordial but commanding. "Brother, come here. You are not going to give me the slip this time. I want to talk to you." I mounted the stairs to her room. To my surprise, she was in tears. "Dear brother," she said, "let us bury the old hatchet. I see that your feet are now firmly set on the spiritual path. I want to become like you in every way." She added hopefully, "You are now robust in appearance, can you help me? My husband does not come near me, and I love him so dearly." but still more I want to progress in God realization, even if I must remain thin and unattractive. My heart was deeply touched at her plea. Our new friendship steadily progressed. One day she asked to become my disciple. Train me in any way you like. I put my trust in God instead of tonics. She gathered together an armful of medicines and poured them down the roof drain. As a test of her faith, I asked her to omit from her diet all fish, meat, and eggs. After several months, during which Nalini had strictly followed the various rules I had outlined, and had adhered to her vegetarian diet in spite of numerous difficulties, I paid her a visit. Sis, you have been conscientiously observing the spiritual injunctions, your reward is near. I smiled mischievously. How plump do you want to be, as fat as our aunt who hasn't seen her feet in years? No. But I long to be as stout as you are. I replied solemnly. By the grace of God, as I have spoken truth always, I speak truly now. Through the divine blessings, your body shall verily change from today, in 1 month it shall have the same weight as mine. These words from my heart found fulfillment. In 30 days, Nalini's weight equaled mine. The new roundness gave her beauty, her husband fell deeply in love. Their marriage, begun so inauspiciously, turned out to be ideally happy. On my return from Japan, I learned that during my absence Nalini had been stricken with typhoid fever. I rushed to her home, and was aghast to find her reduced to a mere skeleton. She was in a coma. Before her mind became confused by illness, my brother-in-law told me, she often said, if Brother Mukunda were here, I would not be faring thus. He added despairingly, the other doctors and myself see no hope. Blood dysentery has set in, after her long bout with typhoid. I began to move heaven and earth with my prayers. Engaging an Anglo-Indian nurse, who gave me full cooperation, I applied to my sister various yoga techniques of healing. The blood dysentery disappeared. But Dr. Bose shook his head mournfully. She simply has no more blood left to shed. She will recover, I replied stoutly. In 7 days her fever will be gone. A week later I was thrilled to see Nalini open her eyes and gaze at me with loving recognition. From that day her recovery was swift. Although she regained her usual weight, she bore one sad scar of her nearly fatal illness, her legs were paralyzed. Indian and English specialists pronounced her a hopeless cripple. The incessant war for her life which I had waged by prayer had exhausted me. I went to Serampuri to ask Sri Yukteswar's help. His eyes expressed deep sympathy as I told him of Nalini's plight. Your sister's legs will be normal at the end of 1 month. He added, let her wear, next to her skin, a band with an unperforated 2-carat pearl, held on by a clasp. I prostrated myself at his feet with joyful relief. Sir, you are a master, your word of her recovery is enough, but if you insist I shall immediately get her a pearl. My guru nodded. Yes, do that. He went on to correctly describe the physical and mental characteristics of Nalini, whom he had never seen. Sir, I inquired, is this an astrological analysis? You do not know her birthday or hour. Sri Yukteswar smiled. There is a deeper astrology, not dependent on the testimony of calendars and clocks. Each man is a part of the Creator, or cosmic man. He has a heavenly body as well as one of earth. The human eye sees the physical form, but the inward eye penetrates more profoundly, even to the universal pattern of which each man is an integral and individual part. I returned to Calcutta and purchased a pearl for Nalini. A month later, her paralyzed legs were completely healed. Sister asked me to convey her heartfelt gratitude to my guru. He listened to her message in silence. But as I was taking my leave, he made a pregnant comment. Your sister has been told by many doctors that she can never bear children. Assure her that in a few years she will give birth to 2 daughters. Some years later, to Nalini's joy, she bore a girl, followed in a few years by another daughter. Your master has blessed our home, our entire family, my sister said. The presence of such a man is a sanctification on the whole of India. Dear brother, please tell Sri Yukteswarji that, through you, I humbly count myself as one of his Kriya Yoga disciples.